everybody. Thank you very much. Professional, you can tell. I didn't turn on the microphone. Okay, thank you very much for coming. This is our very first National Bank. They are our champion partner of Skate Ontario. This is our very first seminar. We are going to be talking about saving for your child's Olympic dream, a parent's guide. So we're delighted to have everybody here. We have got some wonderful representatives from the National Bank. And I'm going to turn it over to Rob Pacey in just a second. I want to remind everybody who's on Facebook Live that you will have a chance to do some questions, comments, whatever you like. This conversation is going to be archived on our Facebook page, and it will also be converted into a video and on our Skate Ontario YouTube page. So what I'd like to do is I would like to introduce Rob Pacey, who is a manager of a couple of National Bank branches in downtown Toronto. And he is our touch point person for our champion partner National Bank partnership. So Rob, thank you very much for coming, and here you go.
All right. Thank you, PJ. So thanks everyone. Oh, do I have to do anything?
No, you just have to talk into it.
Okay. Well, thanks for inviting us, and thanks for coming out to see our presentation. When PJ first approached National Bank, if this is something that we would be interested in partnering up with, I don't think we hesitated. We jumped on board right away because the vision that she had really fits into our one mission at the bank. And at National Bank, we try to be a bit different. And our one mission is to make a positive impact, not only to the lives of our employees, but to our clients and to the community as a whole. So when PJ asked if this is something that we would like to do, we jumped on board right away. So as she said, this is a bit of a pilot. This is the first go, and we're not professionals when it comes to doing the seminar circuit. So hopefully it'll go okay. If you have any questions, definitely ask those online or at the end. And I think maybe some of you or all of you, National Bank might be a bit new. So I just wanted to start off by telling you a little bit about National Bank. So I'll cue it up.
At National Bank, we believe in putting people first. That even the smallest gestures can make a big impact. Whether it's powering a project or empowering our people and our community. We can make a difference. By constantly innovating and finding solutions for every challenge. By listening and letting our actions do the talking. By staying bold and passionate. Each of us, partners and allies, making lasting relationships that go beyond the ask. We're in this together. Here to create a positive impact in people's lives.
Okay, so a couple things in there that, again, really resonated about what we're trying to do is making the impact in the community, and in this case, the skating community, but also powering your projects. So I've heard from some of you the cost of athletics and sports can be stressful, and it really comes to having a plan. So I'll talk a little bit about the history of the bank, but then my colleague Norman will actually talk to you about how to make a proper plan. And in this case, it would be, for, as PJ said, saving for your Olympic dreams. But a plan could be for anything. So what we're going to show you can also be used in every other aspect of your life. But yeah, so this is a little bit of history about National Bank. So we're headquartered in Montreal. Out in the GTA, so we're not on corners such as RBC and TD. So not everyone knows us, but we've actually been around since 1859. So we just actually celebrated our 160th birthday this year. And these next two screens just actually tell you some key moments along of our history. Most of our growth is coming through mergers. So if you want to go to the next screen, and brings you up to in 2014 when we acquired a big part of TD Waterhouse to become the #1 custodial banker and investment banker in the country. And just a couple years ago, we have a presence down in Florida, but we actually bought a bank in Cambodia, which might seem kind of weird, but the fact that it's in a very high growth country, it's French speaking, and there's political peace there, so it matched what we were trying to do. And right now we're in the process of building our new head office in Montreal that started last year, and will be completed in 2022, which it's being built with every environmental consideration to be, I believe, like zero carbon footprint. So that's us right now.
Excuse me, that's my tummy. No.
Hold on one moment. Like I said, we haven't done this before, so you gotta bear with us.
But you did bring free things, so.
That makes up for it. So this is really shows the impact of what we are in the economy and the community. So we actually employ nearly 25,000 employees. Within within Canada, we have 429 branches. Outside of Quebec, there's around 75, 80, and in the GTA area itself, we have around 35 locations. Heavily in actually Mississauga and Brampton, the core, and north of the city. So I'm not sure where everyone has come in from today, but we're all over the place. And those that are on Facebook Live, I know that some people are tuning in from the north, so not only are we all over Ottawa, but Timmins, Sudbury, Windsor. So wherever you're watching from, you're probably very close to a national bank. We have 2.6 million clients in Canada, and our assets under management is 558 billion. So it really talks to our financial strength, and total assets of 276 billion. So some, especially when they're just learning about National Bank, they perceive us as being one of the smaller banks, but we're actually very present within the economy and the community.
Has anyone ever heard a louder coffee maker in their whole life?
So I think we're going to try to talk about today how not only the importance of a plan and how do you reach your goal, but how are we a little bit different from our competitors. So I think I've mentioned a couple already, but the biggest thing is putting people first. So at National Bank, we put people at the heart of our decision making. We want to create lasting relationships and support our clients at every stage of their lives. We strive to be a forward-thinking bank. We're constantly investing in new technology to bring you secure, innovative, and practical solutions that adapt to meet your changing needs. And we'll look at a little bit at that in a moment. And what our approach is. So we put the client at the center of everything of what we do. And around you, not only do you have different banking partners, and in the banking world now, partners, we actually look ourselves as financial coaches. So obviously everyone in the room is either in a coaching capacity or works with coaches. Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do and strive to do at National Bank. And also with your digital solutions, so you're surrounded by expertise. So with a dedicated partner or coach at the bank, supporting from leading experts and access to sophisticated digital solutions, we help to make rational, informed decisions. Building, you want to go back? Building lasting relationships with our clients. A bank with a human touch that stands out for its boldness, entrepreneurial culture, and passion for people. And this here really talks to the life cycle of any individual. So starting from opening up your very first bank account, going to university, helping you with your day-to-day banking, buying a home, managing and protecting your wealth, achieving your ambitions, retirement planning, and just over there it's estate planning. So really what we want to talk about today, we can help everyone in every step of the way, but we really want to be able to help you achieve your ambitions. So join the 2.5 million clients who trust National Bank to guide them through every important stage of their lives. So we represent the personal banking world, which partners with our investment arm. And we build lasting relationships with our clients by providing personalized services and advice to help them achieve their goals. So what does that look like? An extensive network of advisors to support you at every stage of your life. More than 1,000 specialists at your service. Services and advice via your preferred channel, so whether it be in person, whether it be online, or whether it be the phone. We don't push clients to the choice of what the bank wants. It's always how you want to be serviced. Meeting with a specialist in the place that's most convenient for you. So we'll go to you. You don't have to come to us. And award-winning online banking services recognized for their security and ease of use. And again, it's cut off a little bit here, but so we work with the partners. So your investments, your banking services, your residential financing, financial services in Florida, insurance, estate planning, and digital solutions. And what do we offer? And at this point, I'm gonna give the microphone to Norman, who's going to talk about the plan and how do we help you make a plan, and then we'll go into the solutions. So thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. Very excited to be here. Thanks for having us. I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of tools that National Bank offers to, of course, help you reach your goals, reach your objectives, complete your plan. Dirk, are we playing the lip or no? Yeah. One of the digital platforms that we offer to help people reach their goals is our new NACO platform. It's a digital service that clients can enter their goals, enter their information, and it provides information back to the client on the progress that they're making. Right now, when you log into online banking, you may see, of course, balances that you have, but it's up to you to track everything. And this is National Bank's initiative to provide more information back to clients on the success and on the road to meeting their goals. So we're going to play a little video. Do we have video? Yeah, go ahead. We'll play a little video which introduces and explains the concept a little bit more.
Norman, while we're waiting, I'm just going to get you to speak directly into the microphone this way.
Okay.
It has it projected onto the screen.
Just a little technical difficulty.
Honestly, it rules my life, technical difficulties.
Yeah, we could probably put it back in. We could probably skip.
I feel like this should be, how many bank employees does it take to change a light bulb? One of those jokes.
More than 3.
More than 3.
Oh, there we go. Success.
on this gorgeous lake. With solutions that adapt to each and every one of your objectives, what benefited Charlie could also benefit Angela's retirement, Kareem's first home, Gail's college, and even Frank's new motorcycle. Even you can power your ideas with National Bank Investments.
Excellent, thank you, Rob. And Maduri. So National Bank is very focused on helping their clients reach their goals. Yeah, that's fine. There's multiple tools in order to do so. I equate reaching some financial goals or some personal goals like working out. Working out, of course, can be a goal in itself, but when it comes to financial goals, they're very similar. It's a process, and it's not done overnight. So proper planning prevents poor performance. And with proper planning and the process that goes into it, it can be a bit of a boring aspect. For any of you here that has worked out or gone through a regime in the past, I'm sure you would agree that the working out itself, we all don't necessarily look forward to. We always love the end result, which is success. Physically, you feel great, you're full of vitality, you've achieved your goal, and that feels great. But the process of getting there wasn't done overnight. Sometimes we have to push ourselves to go to the gym. Sometimes we have to push ourselves to do that little extra. And with connecting that to reaching your Olympic dreams, there's a lot of partners that help you along the way. Of course, parents are being very supportive. Trainers, registered massage therapists, and so on. So the list can go on and on. National Bank does have a variety of tools to help people reach their financial goals. And also if you do have Olympic dreams, to help you reach that. So my idea tool can take many different forms. A very simplistic way to start. Maduri, if you could just maybe drop it a little bit, move it over. For example, if you needed to save $100,000 over a certain amount of time, you start with a certain amount of capital that you have. And of course, this is the boring part, this is the practical part, but we can project out how much people need to save on a weekly and a monthly basis. This begins the process, and in meeting with a financial planner or an advisor at the branch, they can detail what needs to be done. And if you're looking at reaching your Olympic dreams, there might be certain grants or certain income that, sponsorships and whatnot, that you can put into our tool to project out and have a simulation, which helps you, achieve that goal in the end. Working with our financial planner, of course, they have lots of knowledge. The designations that they've achieved, they translate that into meetings to help clients reach their goals. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Maduri. And
clearly, presentation is not my expertise, so.
Maduri, we're going to get you to move over just a little bit so we can actually see you. There we go.
Yes,
Hi,
perfect.
Internet. So one thing is sure, working into the banking industry for many years now, I have realized it's so reflecting in real life, meaning everything you want to do, you want to map out, you want to have a plan. So same thing, figure skating, honestly, I did not know anything about it, but I picked up little things that is expensive. So, right? So you want to map out how those expenses would be through a plan. So what we do, same as my colleagues has mentioned, the bank, the financial planners, the advisors, what we do, we coach you or help you throughout that process by having a plan. It could be a financial plan or a retirement planning plan. And we integrate those goals that everybody has. So how we would be doing that, once we talk to you and identify what's your priorities, what you want to be focusing on, we have a tailored plan based to you that we would be monitoring on a yearly basis. So once we identify the right plan that fits to you, that speaks to you, then we go to the shelf, we get the right tool or the right product that would help you achieve those goals. One of them is our National Bank investment portfolios. So I will talk to you a little bit about our portfolios, how we can differentiate ourselves throughout our competitions. So at National Bank, we are the only big institution actually that have 100% open architecture. So from a client-centric to a innovation to integrity to excellent solution that could fit to your expectation. One thing is very important to know when it comes to managing your savings. You could be dealing with organization A or organization B, but you want to choose the organization that integrate all the aspects that you're looking into investment. So at National Bank, when we're talking about open architecture, we hire the best managers at the organization to make sure that your asset or your money that you're putting on the side, in a basic word, are managed by the best into the industry. So how we do that? We do it by a process. The process is to choose the best managers into the industry to make sure our clients' money or our client asset or the money that they're putting on the side for their goals or for their children's or for even their retirement, it's managed by the best. One thing is very important. At National Bank, we try to make sure everybody has the right fit. So from the NBI portfolios to the National Bank Private Wealth Management portfolio, based on the asset that you have, we integrate different structures that allow us to diversify your asset, that allows us to not only diversify your asset, but on top of it to have a currency management. The currency management would allow us to invest everywhere in the world to make sure that we generate the return that we promise to the client. As I was saying, we talk to the client, we identify their goals. It could be a short-term goals, it could be a long-term goals. Based on what they are looking for, we have several profiles from balance to moderate, depending on how long you'd be planning or how comfortable you are being into the market. We have different portfolios that would allow you meet those goals.
Okay. And I'm wondering, should we do a plan together? So we're talking about the plan, but if we can even do a mock one and bring it up, and if you want to be the guinea pig and you can
You bet.
tell us the information.
You bet.
Absolutely.
No, just
So ask you questions and then
Well, the thing is, we're all here to sort of think about, so there's long-term planning, which is one of the things you're talking about. But let's just say I've got to buy a new pair of skates for my kid, and we're looking at $1,000. So how do I quickly save for some of these small terms? Or I know that next year, I'm going to need to go with, David Wilson or Laurie Nickel for choreography. It's going to be a whole lot of money. So how do I know now, we're in November, how can I start sort of short-term crunch saving? How can you help me with that if I'm a parent?
Okay, so we can even do two. So one, like
There you go.
we can show two. So one, which would be like very short term.
Yep.
What you're looking to achieve on an annual basis. So just your, say, regular.
Training expenses?
Exactly.
Yep.
And then we can probably look at another one,
Okay.
which would be a bit more medium or long term. If there's something that you're wanting to achieve further down.
See, I'm thinking in terms of plans. We've got Plan A, which is saving for your child's Olympic dream. And then we should have Plan B, which is saving for your child's Olympic dream that didn't quite work out and now they need to go to university, which was too long to put on the flyer. So there are two sets of plans that we can make. So that's I think what this group is interested in. Am I on the right track? Look at me on the right track. Who knew that was going to happen, Internet? And it's really fun that the National Bank people have been stepping completely away from their branding and we keep doing, come this way, come this way. No, come this way. So, do I need to give you information? Yeah?
So let me stop projecting this.
And we're going to get some, it's going to be crowdsourced information because these are parents and coaches and people who know, oh my goodness, it's going to be numbers here. I may have a panic attack. Okay, hold on. Risk tolerance. Where's the paper bag? I'm hyperventilating. Now, the cool thing about this program, as we were investigating topics to try and figure out what would be of interest to parents and to coaches and to skaters. The cool thing about this particular widget or program is that it can be applied to everything. If you want to get that new 50-inch television, for instance, you can apply the same principle to do that. If you want to be saving for a honeymoon or a vacation or something, you can apply the same tool. So although it's skating specific for this crowd, it doesn't have to be. So that's the part that's really kind of interesting. You only have half of me too? Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the first one we'll do is something very short term.
Okay,
And so Norman will ask you the information.
okay, we're gonna crowdsource
Thank
the
you.
information, everybody.
So think of an approximate cost that you might save or something specific.
Okay,
What might be something that you might save for?
so next season, my child's gonna make it to the national championships, which aren't gonna be in Ontario. I'm not sure where are they gonna be next year? Does anyone know? I don't remember. Anyway, oh no, it gets announced next year. Anyway, so let's say you need to come.
Challenge.
Okay,
Do we know where challenge is gonna be next year?
let's pretend challenge is coming up a year from now, and you know you're gonna need $5,000. $5,000 reasonable? The travel expenses, mom and dad go, kid goes, all the stuff that has to happen, coaching costs. So let's say, what do you think, parents and coaches and people?
And this would be next year, so you have 1 year to save for it.
What do you think? Just for challenge or just for nationals?
Depends where it is, right? So might be airfares.
Yep, that's what we're thinking of.
Airfares, hotels.
Yep.
So.
Ooh, volleyball's chiming in for 7.
Seem to like having it there. One of the hardest places to get to.
My family's in Regina. Okay, so let's say, so what's the number? 7,000? 5?
Make it 5.
Make it 5. Sorry, volleyball, you lose out. Okay, here we go.
And what do you currently have saved for this program?
Well, typical skating parents, 0.
The kid's wearing the savings.
The axle.
That's right.
Putting in the basic data shows
Get a move.
that for over the next year, a parent would have to save $96 a week, $92 every 2 weeks, or $417 each month. This is taking into consideration the lowest risk of the portfolio on the investments. Generally, you're talking a shorter time frame. You want to be more on the conservative side. If, of course, you're looking longer term, if you're doing a retirement plan, if you're doing a longer tenured type of plan or multiple years, you could look at investing a little bit differently. This is all, of course, a conversation you're going to have with the financial planner, with the advisor in the office.
So $96 a week, is that reasonable for people? I don't think that it's bad, actually. If you knew that $96 a week you had to put away in order to be able to have, at the end of it, is it exactly $5,000 at the end? I'm not good with math.
In this case, it would be a little bit less.
Okay.
So as Norman was saying, if we're investing in the very short term, we don't recommend any exposure to the market. Because in the short term, you wouldn't be able to withstand any fluctuations.
Okay,
So that's also important because other people might be saving for the short term, invest in the market because that's what someone told them. They were given a stock tip. And then when it comes to the competition, instead of $5,000 that you were hoping for, it's now worth $3,000. And you're
Okay.
taking the bus to Regina because you've lost money. So in the short term, it's always a cash solution. So there would be slight interest on that, but the smallest amount.
so can you use this tool online? Do you guys have a place where people can just try it?
Mhm.
So we'll make sure that we put that information too in our Facebook Live comments so that people can access it.
For sure. And there's different complexities to it. And definitely go and, play around with it. We're just going to show like saving for a project. And we'll do a few other examples, a couple more
Okay.
examples with a bit further outreach and maybe a case where there's a little bit of savings. So we can do a few different scenarios with you. But what we find with our clients, especially when they're trying to do more complex plans, when it comes to retirement planning, they get stuck and they're not able to go to the next step of the tool. And again, that's where we come into play as being a financial coach. And you'll notice that as soon as a goal is met, it'll tell you, okay, you're okay. You can move on, you're good. So it is available online. We can definitely give you the link. But if you get stuck, you have questions, that's where definitely we come into play.
So I'm gonna speak on behalf of the assembled people here. I get to my $5,000. Does it stop? Do I put in the $96 every week, or does somebody take it out of my account every week, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the easiest way is to have it automatically taken from your accounts, because as we know, if we were left to our own devices, it's better, a higher chance that we're not going to do it. So we would definitely set the amount automatically come out of your account at whatever set time is convenient for you. And as you said, does it automatically stop? I get 5,000, does it stop? It really depends on you. So when we set any payments up, we can have it that it ends at a certain date.
Okay.
And then it's done, or you can have it in continuously going. And something like this where you know that these are costs that you would have to incur every year, chances are you would want to keep it going. But that's where it's tailored to you, the client. Anyway, it's very flexible.
And does it have to go to the trip to Regina, or can it be for anything?
It could be for anything.
Okay.
So when we looked at the video for the Nat Go, so again, this tool in the video, it's this experience. It's very innovative in the market. A lot of your other banks won't have anything like this, and this is where you log in. You're in the past. You would get advice from your advisor, you would get advice from your planner, and you would take their advice. You would do what you were told. Well, in this new experience, you're in the driver's seat, right? And when you need help, that's where we're there to coach you. So even though you actually name a goal, trip to Regina, I'm sure that's everyone's goal. Hopefully no one from Regina wants to get Ontario, so I think we're good. But yeah, I mean, you're not obviously forced to use it for that cause.
Okay.
And the thing is, your goals change all the time.
Yeah.
So that's when you're able to go in and modify your goals. If you think it was 5,000 and now you know it's going to be 7, you go in and it will readjust your plan of what you need to do.
Okay.
And when you're not okay, it'll actually say you're not okay. But when you're on track, it gives you the big thumbs up, and you know that at the end of the year, what you're trying to achieve, that the Nationals and Regina, you're good to go.
2 things. First of all, I hate the fact that the National Bank is saying I'm not okay, because I don't like that kind of judgment.
I think most people in the room know.
That's true, fair enough. And the other thing is that, you know how you said how easy it is, the easiest way is to have it come out of my account every week?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, easier for me is if it comes out of your account every week. That's actually easier.
You'll be upset when you're not okay.
That's right. Fair enough. Okay, so do you guys, can you guys think of another scenario that you'd like to explore just to see how it works?
So I mean, if you actually want to look at something a little bit more complex,
Yeah.
Because the more complex the situation is, it's going to give you better advice.
Okay.
So obviously, sure.
If it's short term and it's not going to the market, what type of interest are we looking at?
It really depends. It's low. So we're in a long environment of very low interest rates. Our economists at the bank are predicting that interest rates will drop twice again this year. So if you're renewing your mortgage, that's good news. But if you're trying to save and you're always just in a cash solution, it's anywhere from 1% to 2%. So it's very low. So that's why if we do a couple more examples that are a bit further out, where we're going to recommend an actual solution for you, where you're invested, could be some or all in the market. It will give you better projections, because that's where growth is going to be. So you can't get high growth in a very short term. So
to piggyback to Rob, to your question, so statistically in finance, something that you are investing less than for 12 months and under, you don't want to take out high risk on that one, because again, for this time of period that we are going, anything that goes more than 12 months, then we could talk about strategies. The good thing about dealing with a financial planner or an investment advisor, it's like going to the gym. I myself, I go to the gym all the time, but I don't know what I'm doing. So I decided one day I would try a personal trainer, and then I started seeing results because he was telling me what to do. So it's the same thing. We have vehicles like tax-free saving account. I'm sure you guys are all aware of it. So we find the best solution where to put the money in order to protect the money and at the same time to achieve the goals in the most safe way.
Okay, any other questions, or should we go to another example?
Is there a restriction on withdrawals?
No. Well, yes and no. So in terms of withdrawing, in general, no. You can always access your money. It's your money. You can access it any time. Where there could be restrictions is Maduri just talked about tax-free savings account. So we want to, you know, when you work again with a planner, an advisor, a coach, we'll always advise you to maximize your tax-free savings account, because obviously it'll save you from paying any taxes in that investment. When you withdraw out of the tax-free savings account, you can, but if you ever want to recontribute, you have to wait till the next calendar year. So yeah, you can access it any time, but there could be different rules about taxation and when you can recontribute. Yeah.
You can recontribute, you still have room.
Of course, but if you're taking money out, so if you take $5,000 out, you don't lose that contribution room. You're always able to recontribute that, but you always have to wait till the next calendar year. And again, these are things when you're working with someone closely, you can go online. There's nothing that we can show you that if you went online you couldn't do yourselves. But when you have the questions, it won't be able to answer it. When you need the advice, it's not going to advise you to maximize your TFSA instead of non-registered, or if someone's actually putting money into an RSP. Well, in that case, when you withdraw it, then you're going to have taxation issues. So, yeah, anything here you can do on your couch without the advice.
Is this suitable for a group of people? Let's say like a synchro team wants to save for travel expenses to a competition. Can a group do it?
For sure. So a group would be able to contribute as long as it's like a non-registered investment. And when we talk about non-registered, all that means it's not in an RSP, it's not in a TFSA, it's not in an RESP, because those are all based on the subscriber and their registration with CRA. But outside of anything that we would call registered, they can be joint.
Cool.
So of course. All right. So we'll go to another example of
Sure.
something a little bit further out. So think about something that might be 3 or 4 years away. It may seem further off, but you know it's coming. You know it'll be there, and you want to be proactive and start
So
talking now.
often in sports, children are with their parents until a certain point in their career, and very often they're then planning on moving to a different place in order to train. So that could be 3 or 4 years away from where they are right now. So they're looking to have a bit of a nest egg created for, I don't know, what would be a good number that people have to save to be able to send their kids to somewhere else to train? Anybody? 25,000?
Depends, are you doing a summer camp, you doing a full year?
I was thinking of like a full year. Somebody's moving to go to wherever.
Probably 25,000 would be a safe amount to save, maybe 30.
Okay,
Depending
so
on where.
yeah, so 3 years from now, my child is super competitive, and it looks like they're going to be moving to somewhere else to train.
Okay, so and this is where risk tolerance comes into play, and I think I started to tell, and I don't know if I finished. So on our NACO platform, or even all of our accounts, they're goal-based. So you can have multiple accounts based on the goals. So if you had that, you know, your fees every year that are $5,000 and they're reoccurring, you can have the account that we showed in scenario 1 that will always get you and ensure that you have the $5,000 every year. But then if you have another goal, we wouldn't put everything in the same account. We wouldn't recommend that. We wouldn't advise that. In this case, we would recommend having a separate account for that specific goal. And this is where we can be have a little higher risk tolerance. So in this case, most likely it would not be high, but in this case we would use moderate. And in this case, let's say that there's already some savings.
Sure, yeah.
how much would we have saved?
$1,500, because I didn't realize my child was talented. Is that enough to start with?
Mhm.
Okay.
So based on the savings that you already have, based on your risk tolerance and based on when you would need it, in this scenario, it would recommend that you save $141 every week, $281 every 2 weeks, or if we're saving on a monthly basis, $609. So obviously over time, the longer you leave it, so if you waited until year 2 to start saving, well now instead of $600 a month, it's going to be you're going to need to save anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800, and could be higher because again that short-term horizon would probably we would be recommending a cash solution, which would be low interest. So being able to identify the goal as early as possible will allow us to give the best solution and to ensure that you reach the goal. And the other thing too is when it comes to what we're using here, there's projections. So we're always using historical information when it comes to projections, but that's always the best guess. So things change. So the market could be overperforming our projections. It could be underperforming the projections, and that's when, with NatGo, it'll always readjust and let you know if you need to make changes to your plan to make sure it's achievable.
What would a reasonable rate of return be, given this, to have some idea? Because I'm not in high risk or in moderate. What would that be where you would say that's acceptable or unacceptable?
Yeah, so when we look at rates in the short term or returns in the short term, when we're looking at the shorter periods, it's always going to be the highest volatility. So the highest risk of losing money, highest risk of making a lot of money. But then we're always looking for averages, and the average, as far as the further out we go, so from 1 year to 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, the worst scenario becomes lower. The best scenario becomes lower. So is the average. So it's always just using really the average for those time frames, and all those are built in here. Once you have the full plan, and it might be hard to see, but it actually tells you what the projections are that they use. But again, talking about what returns you're able to receive, you know, lately there's been returns double digits, right? But some of you may remember 10 years ago where the market was down 30–40%. So if you had that plan and your goal was to be achieved in that year, in the short term, you would have been at a higher risk of losing money. But because you were investing in a longer period of time, it would have it would always be readjusting. And the big thing that happened in 2009, because 2008, 2009 is a lot of investors have never experienced that before. It had been many, many years before people saw big declines in their portfolios, and people panicked, and those that panicked pulled out. And once you pull out of the market, and you just are now earning cash, if your portfolio is down 30%, and now you're only earning 1% a year, well, it's going to take you, what, 25–30 years to regain what you lost. So I just wanted to tie that back in, because those that work closely with an advisor, that work with a planner, work with a financial coach, we would do everything possible to tell you not to do it. And those that don't work with an advisor, and a lot of ads on TV about Questrade and all these things, just do it at home on your computer, it's cheap. When there's volatility in the market, those are the investors that are actually withdrawing their money at a loss. But these projections are always very conservative, because we wouldn't want to say, just because the market has been returning 10%, you're going to be getting 10% every year, because we know that's not sustainable. So we use very conservative estimates. Any other questions?
not for the moment. There will be more questions later, I'm sure.
Okay. And is there any other type of scenario that you would want to look at?
And keep in mind that Maduri, Norman, and Rob are going to hang around afterwards, so if you have individual questions that you want to check out with them, you can.
Yeah, for sure.
Daphne?
Yeah, you have been talking about the saving for short term and mid-term, long term. But I think that as parents, like what we are struggling with is that the day-to-day expense. So every month we have to pay multiple coaches like expense, and so like it can just only become more and more as the kids like become better. So how do we cope with that situation? Like any plan, any suggestion?
Yeah, for sure. So, so that's definitely very individualized, right? When it comes to budgeting, because when it comes to investing, depending on what your goal is, if everyone's goal is always the same, then the advice that we give is always going to be the same. But definitely, in this case, yeah, you're needing to come up with $609 a month. So if you're presently not able to do that, you would need to make a change in your situation. So that's when we would look at doing like a full budget to see where is there an opportunity to save money. And again, it's online, so I can show you afterwards. And it's very good because if you were to ask most, they wouldn't know how much they spend a month in entertainment. They wouldn't know how much they spend a month in terms of Ubers. They wouldn't know how much they spent a month in restaurants. So so having a budget for everybody, whether or not you think you're okay, it's a good point. It's very important. And on the flip side of that, if we've been funding different goals through debt, whether it be credit card, whether it be through loans, line of credits, mortgages, that's again where we would sit down, look at a situation, and see how do we knock out high interest debt, or how can we consolidate debt to save that money that you're paying in interest. That will free up the money, so you're just rather than paying the bank or credit card the interest, now you're paying yourself.
Yeah.
So, if my kid is 5 or 6 and they've really been identified that they have a lot of talent, and I know that they are potentially going to that Olympic stream, is there a way to set something up that you would get, say, like a dividend or like a, lack of a better word, like an endowment fund payout for later down the road when they're 14, 15? Is there a way to set that up so you can help offset those costs later down the road potentially?
Yeah, so I mean, some of the tools that we have will at one point give you withdrawal strategies. So factoring in that you're in the accumulation years where you're saving, but then at what point, what will I have, and then how much am I going to be paying out? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm just looking for an option to, maybe I know my kid's really young, very talented, and I know they're not gonna leave home till they're 14 or 15 years old, for example. And I've got, say, 10 years to save, but potentially set it up so I know I'm gonna get $5,000 or $6,000 a year that in interest or whatever it might be by that point to help offset a cost as opposed to me just paying out of pocket.
Yeah, so
Is that
I mean that's all built in here. That's all built in here because when Maduri was showing you our NBI portfolios, so depending on what you're investing in, you're going to be having you'll be having securities in that pay dividends. So those dividends go right back into your investment, or whether it's paying interest or whether it's paying capital gains. So in none of these situations would it be that they're actually paying out any of that to you. It gets all reinvested.
But at some point in time, I can choose it to not be reinvested, correct? And for me to take those dividends to use each year or each month or whatever it might be to help offset the cost of my kids' athletic
That is one option.
Yeah.
And when talking with the financial planner or the advisor, he would determine which option to take, so that would be one option.
Okay.
Another option would be to let them be reinvested, and an automatic payment would be sent out to you. So, because on a monthly basis, the disbursements which are variable, can change. But if it's more convenient to have a fixed amount, because there's fixed costs, then the distributions could be reinvested, and then a fixed amount, say $1,000 a month, for example, $750 a month can be paid out to you. So you do have a couple of options, and having a portfolio set up that way is very possible. You start contributing to it now and building it up, and then at a certain period in time in the future, it could start paying out to you to, as you alluded to, mitigate the costs.
Yeah, and in all these scenarios, we're talking about saving for projects, saving for dreams. So you're always in the accumulation phase, but for all these solutions as well, they can pay you out. So when we talk about, in this case, we would be, I don't know, where we'd be recommending the $609 a month. But once you get to that stage, and you may need $2,000 a month for expenses, then we just put that into the plan, and now it's paying that into your accounting fund. However, which way, again, that's how you would determine it with your advisor, your planner. All right, any other questions?
So in like the educational funds and stuff like that, the government always offer like a grant or some sort of stuff to enable you to start saving for your kid. In the case of an Olympic Dream or for sport-wise, is there a grant or anything else that's offered?
Well, it wouldn't be through the government that I know of. I mean, I'm sure there are different grants. That's definitely not my expertise. But but I know that there's often endowments or grants available. At what stage or at what level, I don't know. But if there was, and you knew that these were monies that you'd be getting, we factor that in, that you'd be getting X amount. But yeah, I'm sure they're very far and few between. I know some employers, for their employees, have different funds for education and sport, but it's probably something I wouldn't think is very accessible. I would think that the parents and the families have the greatest burden. So you're funding it yourself, but how are you funding it? How much money do you need? Where is it being invested? How long do you have to invest for? That's definitely where we factor in.
We've got more questions coming up later, I think.
Okay.
Thank you, National Bank. They gave us a whole bunch of information. We're going to get some first-hand information now from none other than Olympic silver medalist Dylan Moskovich, medalist, national medalist, international medalist at Grand Prix events and at Four Continents, and if I missed anything, national as well. Medalist. So Dylan Moskovich, come and give us a first-hand account of money.
Remind me, I'm getting PTSD watching this. I started skating when I was 2, retired at 33, so after all that, you can do the math. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Skating is a very interesting sport, as most of you know. It is a huge investment, and it is a very small club that you reach a certain level where you start getting some of it covered. And even a smaller club where you actually start profiting some money in a very, very, very small club. I actually would have benefited from this a lot. And I skated pairs. I skated singles and pairs. I started pairs when I was 18, which is pretty late. I moved away from home with my youngest sister. I'm the oldest of 4. We moved away when she was 12 and I was 21, and we lived in Barrie and then in Waterloo, and I was kind of tasked with handling our finances. Obviously I was getting support from my parents, but I was trying to manage things as best as I could on my own and take care of her schooling and our skating and everything. So I had a very unique kind of experience in learning to somewhat adult at a very early stage, and I developed kind of a skill that my fiance calls me now, Dylan, I'll figure it out, Moskovich. And that was kind of my way of handling things, and I didn't really have a structure, to be honest, and I wish I had learned that, but I learned very quickly how to make ends meet just by, you know, the next major milestone, which sometimes was just the next day, and buying groceries. And as an athlete, you know, you have a lot of pressures, and it is a very, my advice to you parents, is a very difficult thing as a young skater to really grasp and understand and appreciate what all of this means, because you're out there trying to land your double axel, and it's a sport that's a very thank you. It's a slow skill acquisition sport. It's not for the faint of heart. You have to be super patient, super resilient and tenacious, and it takes a long time to make progress for most of us, unless you're superhuman like some of the young skaters coming out of Russia these days. But it is something that you know, it's very consuming. We spend 90% of our time as an athlete prepping. For a few times we get to compete, and it's a lot of pressure, and often high-level athletes put a ton of pressure on themselves, not just from their coaches and their parents, and, you know, social pressures and the judges. And that being said, it is also very important to understand what it is financially, and why it's so valuable to have that understanding, because you can very easily take for granted your coaches and your time on the ice, and end up chatting with your friend in the corner, or, you know, not feeling like doing it that day, and not understanding that session costs $15 and your lesson costs, I don't know, $80 for the hour, and then, you know, your choreography. I mean, my last few years, my choreography was $15,000 for the year, between the two programs, and split in half with my partner and I. Outfits ended up being about $6,000-7,000 for the year. Coaching probably about myself alone, $25,000-30,000 for the year. And then also being an adult, not living at home. I had to worry about a car because I had to get around the city, gas, insurance, apartment, all of these things. And in a weird way, as an athlete, you grow up very quickly, but you also don't. And you don't always get equipped, because half the time you're not in school, you don't get equipped with all the skills on how to deal with these things and how to manage them. One thing I would suggest is developing a relationship and an importance with your kids on how to understand these things and how to strategically plan for them, so that when they get to the point, if they're lucky enough and you know, luck is on their side, and they manage to make a longer career out of this sport, that they understand how to manage this, and to you know, minimize the stress that they feel financially while they're handling all those other things. For myself, you know, it was, like I said, I'm a figure it out kind of guy, and you do learn specific skills, and skating is a very incredible sport, and although it is a very small percentage of us that actually get to do the incredible things like go to the Olympics and represent your country around the world, it is a unique sport in the sense that you develop life skills that many other sports don't give you, because we do walk the line of athleticism and artistry. We are a presentation sport. We are judged based on how we perform, how we behave. Everything is subjective, and with that comes judgment. And so we are always on. And that in itself is a very interesting kind of thing to grow up in. And you can't just hide behind your hockey mask. You can't just be one of 20 on a team. It's you out there. Everything you do on practice, everything you do in competition, you're being judged, you're being assessed, and your image is super important. And I think that it's important to understand going into a sport like this where you are investing, and your kid has Olympic dreams, and it is a privilege to have those Olympic dreams, not just to achieve them, and to understand that when you're investing in your kid's development as a person, developing skills, and skills that will help them outside of, you know, the field of play, outside of the rink, where I learned media training and public speaking without any training. You get thrown into things, and you have to learn to deal with it. You're out in the middle of the ice sometimes. As a young kid, you forget your program, and it is literally like your heart stopping. It is the most, it'd be like essentially a gust of wind taking all your clothes off in the middle of a public street. It is the most embarrassing, nerve-wracking thing you can probably think of, and at a young age you have to figure it out. And these types of skills are really, really important, and they're going to help these kids as they move through life. You're investing in those kind of skills. And it does come with a cost, but if your kid is loving it and your kid is passionate about it, there is no loss, in my opinion. So making sure that you do these types of things, making sure that you plan yourself so you mitigate some of the stress on you, which will in turn reduce the stress that you put on them, because at the end of the day, money will cause all of us to be grumpy sometimes. And I think, having these plans and having these structures will help you to help them, and so that they can get the most out of these experiences, get the most out of their journey in figure skating. Because for a lot of people who go into figure skating, no matter what their trajectory is as a competitor, often it's a lifelong relationship in this sport, and it is a sport that people stay involved with no matter what area. I skated for too long, I think. It's a long, long time. And I loved it. I have no regrets. But now the way I stay involved is I coach a little bit, but for me it's on the broadcast side of things, seminar side of things, doing speeches, and empowering from a distance. I don't want to be in charge of someone's career, because that is a huge responsibility, and that is not where I'm at. But I still have a relationship with skating, and that is something that I feel gifted with, and I feel very fortunate. And I am now doing broadcasting, and I'm now doing acting, and skating also gave me that skill of presentation and being comfortable in my own skin, and also being able to endure. There are very few places in the world where, actually no, politics are everywhere. I take that back. I take that back. Skating is one of the few sports where people decide your fate, and it is a very difficult thing to do. It's a very difficult thing to deal with, and you learn quickly, or you struggle until you learn that your love for what you're doing and your own goals are the most important things, and it's a very important relationship to have with your sport and your career. So all that to say, I think you guys are doing the right thing by being here. And being online. You're showing a lot of commitment to your kids and their future, and wanting to learn how to maximize your experiences and their experiences in the sport. And there is no guidebook in raising a kid in sports. It is a very difficult thing to do. So kudos to you. But keep looking for any tricks, any clues you can find to help you make that as streamlined as possible, so that you can enjoy it instead of just feel stressed the entire time.
Thank you, Dylan. Anybody have any questions for the Olympian?
Dylan, I have one question. At what age you started feeling break-even with your expenses versus your, I wouldn't call it income.
My next lifetime. I honestly don't know, and that is it was one of my strengths is I'm super good at compartmentalizing. So if something is, off, I can put it away and I can do my job. I can make my ends meet. But I probably should have been a lot better at having a bigger picture of my finances with gentlemen like these to help me, do something like that. But I think senior national team is where I started to feel like the money coming in was able to help me really take care of my expenses. Junior, novice, there's little grants, and my parents helped me understand that. If I won a grant, I got to use the money towards skating, but it was mine to choose to use towards skating, and I think that was a very empowering thing. But really, when you start hitting the big leagues, the senior international stuff is where you start to see the funding kick in more and more.
So would a financial plan have helped you as a skater?
100%.
Tell me how.
Understanding how to manage the money that I got, even at the beginning when I started getting a little bit of money, how to manage that and maximize it, and where to use it, and to understand where the extra money was going, entertainment, all of those things, and to have a plan, and to give myself, athletes are very task oriented, we're very goal oriented, so having that goal would be very useful. I think that would have really helped me, and also to I mean, not that I was an athlete who really valued my training time. I loved training. I loved the grind. I was one of the few people, I like the work in the gym, not just the result, but not everyone's like that. And so having a number beside each practice and understanding what you are investing in that practice, for some people that's super valuable.
Daphne.
You know, like you said, the financial situation put pressures on kids, on athletes, the parents as well. So how much did you feel that you were like pressured when you were training? And what advice do you give us as a parent to help our kids to kind of mitigate those stress?
It's a very good question. My mom's in the room, so I got to be really nice. I'm just kidding. I always
tell you the real answer.
I always felt support, but I also felt not pressure, but I felt the strain. I understood the strain. I'm the oldest of four, and all of us skated at one point, and all of us were in multiple extracurricular activities that were not exactly cheap. So I felt, being the oldest especially, I felt the weight of it. I understood what it was, and I personally took that on. I think the most important thing is to always have a very strong why as to why you're doing this, and what the reason is, and if you're going to be investing in it, then that's a decision you make, and it can't be back and forth. It can't be like, well, I don't want to do this anymore, or if you don't do this, you don't do that. It's like an agreement you have together, and you view it as a team. You're investing together, you're investing in progress, and you always check in with each other that, if your child is not really committing themselves, that they have a reality check, but not that it's a pressured reality check, that it's a supportive reality check. Because it is so difficult to be a competitive athlete, especially with their own pressures. So the more support you can get from your close-knit team, the more confident you will feel.
If I might just make one comment that I really feel is like the word investment. Obviously, as bankers, it's all about investment. But I think the most important thing is that you don't see what you're spending on your kids' sport as an investment in them, because that puts the pressure on them to
give you return of investment.
A result.
As a result, to actually come up with what you invested in. I remember standing at the Olympics when Dylan was on the podium, and standing there going, this is so surreal, because, like little kids, you ask any athlete, I mean, most of especially in figure skating, we say, what do you want to do? And they say, I want to go to the Olympics, right? And to actually get there is one thing, and then to like medal it, and to me it was like, wow. But in my mind, I never ever put the money that had gone into it and that moment together. Because I can tell you, you can never predict how much you're going to spend, because it's not just what your coaching costs are, your ice time costs. Oh, your child would benefit from going to ballet lessons. They would benefit from some cross training, some fitness, some mental training, some this, and all of it is like little bits and pieces. And I know one of my friends said, I never, ever, ever add up what I spent on skating, and I would never tell my husband what I spent on skating.
So to say that, I think a balance of the two is probably really good. I really like the idea of specific projects.
Yeah, exactly.
Choreography.
Like, people are so scared to know what, I'm sure, right, do you know exactly? It's terrifying to know what you're spending. Like, really, you spent, I remember the first dress I bought for his little sister was like $600 or something. I went, I've never bought myself a dress for $600, and she's 8 years old wearing this silly little thing with a few sparkles on it. How can you charge $600 for that dress, right? And just realizing you'd never tell anybody else because they think you're out of your mind, right? So it's a very insular sport in that way, because you can't share what you're doing. People think you're crazy.
Except with your bank finance.
Yes. They're like your financial therapist. Privy to very private information.
But worth every single moment. I feel like it was an investment in Dylan as a person. That he made it to the Olympics is just like icing on top.
But sport is an investment.
It is an investment in a sense. for sure. You know what? Technically, it is very much.
But
an
you know
investment.
what I mean? The return is not going to be there financially.
And understanding that there is luck,
Oh.
there are genetics, there's timing. You know, sorry to anybody who competed against Tessa and Scott, because that was just terrible timing. You know what I mean? And that's
Patrick Chan.
Like that's the reality of the situation. And so many things have to align. Even as a pair skater, you have to have the right partner at the right time in your life. You have to be the right version of yourself to be able to step up in that moment and prepare yourself for it and be able to seize that moment. It is like, it's insane. But being able to chase that is a much more attainable goal, and it's a much more realistic goal, and it's a very valuable one. And I think people have to move themselves away from you go or you don't. I was on a journey, and I think that's more how you should view your investment in your time and your money. Anyone else?
Kristen Lewis wants to say, awesome seminar, thank you, and love Dylan's insights. Aww.
Thank you. You're welcome. No, that's it. That's all.
Okay, stay. He was going to go somewhere. I'd like to invite Lisa Alexander, our executive director, to come on up and say a few things. If you'll stay put, please, with
Sure.
Lisa.
Sure.
There you go.
Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming. As you know, Skate Ontario hasn't done anything like this before, and we've had a lot of feedback that this is the type of thing that people would like to see more of. So I really want to thank PJ for helping us organize this, and I really want to thank National Bank for coming on as a new partner in this initiative. And I really related to what you said, Dylan, about just if we can find a way to help mitigate some of the stress from you guys who are supporting your kids in this awesome dream. I spoke to a club president, and she said to me, she goes, how did I get into this? She goes, I put my kid in skating. I didn't know anything about skating. Now my kid loves skating. Now I'm the president of this skating club. Like, what happened? And I can remember my dad, when I got into sports, going, just got out of hand, right? So I think that, I hope that the opportunity to put some thought into this awesome thing that sport brings into the lives of your children, and finding some way to help yourselves be prepared and help your families be prepared, I think and hope is helpful. So we'll look forward to your feedback on other areas where you'd like more information or more seminars or more things that we can have available for you as we do this awesome thing of supporting our kids in skating.
Okay, perfect. Okay, everybody stays put, and now I'm going to invite our friends from National Bank to come up because they have a wonderful surprise for us. And that is that National Bank is presenting Skate Ontario with a check for $500 for our discretionary fund, which helps skaters in need. So Rob Pacey and Lisa Alexander and Dylan Maskovich. Hold on, I gotta take a picture. Hold on.
You get to hold it.
There we go. Oh, I don't mean to be in the picture, that's for darn sure. That is just hugely generous. We could not do what we're trying to do with Skate Ontario without champion partners like you guys at National Bank. This is absolutely outstanding. So thank you very much for coming and for all of the information. Thank you, Dylan, for sharing your story. Lisa, get off the stage. Please feel free to enjoy our nibbles and have something to drink. Oh, wait, we've got to do our draw.
That hasn't gone into the draw?
Has everybody got their name in our draw? Okay. Do you have your name in your draw? Oh, hold on, Dylan's got something to say. Of course.
I do have to go soon, but I did bring my Olympic medal, so if you guys would like to see it, I can pass it around. Just don't drop it or run away with it, please.
Don't drop it. I mean, honestly.
All that money we talked about is in there.
Okay, we have a door prize that's coming from National Bank. Those people in the room have put in their ballots. Okay, let's see. Can you read it?
Haven Wren.
Haven Wren. youth won our door prize. Congratulations.
Hey, Bernard. Hey, Bernard.
Oh, she's looking at your mail.
Oh.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Traded for the door prize, yeah.